forefathers weren't the Pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us.
My grandmother was a full-blooded Iroquois. I know all of that, Mama. They don't know this. I am alive because of the blood of a people who never scraped or begged or apologized for what they were. They asked only one thing of this world: to be allowed to be. And I learned through the blood of this people that black isn't beautiful. It isn't ugly. It isn't kinky hair. It isn't straight hair. Black is just black. It broke my heart when you changed your name. I gave you my grandmother's name, a woman who bore 9 children and educated them all. Who held off 6 white men with a shotgun when they tried to drag one of her sons off to jail for not knowing his place. And you had to reach into an African dictionary to find a name that would make you proud.
It comes as a great shock around the age of 5 or 6 or 7 to discover that the flag to which you have pledged allegiance, along with everybody else, has not pledged allegiance to you. It comes as a great shock to discover that Gary Cooper killing off the Indians when you were rooting for Gary Cooper, that the Indians were you.
On the other hand, we are the only true inheritors of the place called America.
That's right. That's right. It belongs to us.
Because we're still outside of it.
It belongs to us, and there's nobody can do anything about that.
And we will get it. If we continue to move. I think it's a guilt.
In ways that one can't quite see yet. We already have it. That's one of the reasons for the panic.
We have to effect it.
Yes.
And we have to know it, and we have to make sure that everybody else...
We have to change it.
Our destiny is tied up in the destiny of America. Before the Pilgrim Fathers landed at Plymouth, we were here. Before Jefferson etched across the pages of history the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence, we were here. Before the beautiful words of the Star-Spangled Banner were written, we were here.
Mr. Muhammad teaches us that Negro is a term that was applied to us during slavery by the slave master. And right today, it's a term that is used only to point out the descendant of slaves. It's never used for black people, period. Africans can come to this country. They aren't called Negroes. And if they are called Negroes, they resent it. So if Negro meant black, as we've been taught, it would be a term that would be applicable to or applicable to everyone. But he says that it is something that means a slave, or something who is, it means something that has been left out of society, politically, economically, educationally, and otherwise.
You don't think of it as an anthropological term?
Definitely. It's not an anthropological term, it's a slave term. And it was a term that was invented in America and was used by the slave makers, slave traders, and slave masters, and attached to the property or the chattel or merchandise that our people represented in that particular day.
And by the way, we're not black. How about that? We're not black. We're Indian. Yeah. We're Native American. Yeah. How many of y'all grandmothers got Indian in your family? Yeah, I'm Period. I'm Indian. Wait a second, but what happened to the Indians? We black. Show me black on the planet. Why you stop recording?
He knows the fucking shit.
Why you sound crazy? Nah, because you think I sound crazy.
No, you don't sound like that. You're talking true. You're talking true.
We're not black. Race was made up.
You're talking true.
Race was made up.
Yeah, with brown eyes.
Show me black. Show me black on the planet. Show me black. Everybody else, they European, they Australian, they Chinese, they Japanese. Show me black on the planet. We marginalized as entertainers.
Crazy because he's black.
Nick, what you care about crazy?
The last part with Scotty saying it's crazy because he's black. That will never not get old. I'm sorry. Scotty is so slow. I love that. Y'all, happy Educational Friday. Happy Educational Friday. Thank you, William, for the super chat. Says happy Educational Friday. Thank you, beautiful. Thank you, guys. Shout out to everybody in the building. Come on in. Come on in. It is Educational Friday, you guys. Y'all know this is my favorite segment of the week. Shout out to everybody in the building. Y'all make sure to like the video. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We do this on Fridays. It's called Educational Friday, where we go back and learn and relearn some history, some things that we didn't know about. And today, thanks again, William, for the super chat. Today, we gonna be discussing I don't want to mispronounce this. Sorry, y'all. Let's just pull it up. I should have learned how to pronounce it before I came on here. How unprepared of me. My apologies. But the Ocoee Massacre, I hope that I'm saying that correctly. If I am wrong, please forgive me. But you guys, please understand, these are Indian names. These are old Indian names, like Achapalacha. And y'all see stuff like all these names with all the letters and all that. Those are old ancient names, okay? So not that it matters because I should know how to pronounce it. But when you see these names, you see them on most of the bridges, the interstates and stuff like that. There be a lot of like small cities. You'll typically see in cities where mostly Black people live. Ocoee, thank you so much. Thank you, Flower Child and Solange. Thank you, Ocoee. Whoo, thank you. This is why it takes a village. You know what I'm saying? Flower Child and Solange, thank you so much. It takes a village, and I adore you guys for that. Thank you. Ocoee. So, the Ocoee Massacre, that's what we were doing. So in 1920, you got to understand, because I forgot what I was just saying. So it'll maybe come back to me. What happened in 1920 was, remember, before we get to 1920, you have to understand the Great Migration that really was not great. There was nothing great about the migration, okay? Even the ones who volunteered to leave, it wasn't a great migration. So I hate that they call it that. But the quote-unquote Great Migration was nothing but forced Black people off their lands. That's all it was. Most of the people that reside in major cities today came from surrounding smaller areas. We've spoken about this before. So for instance, I live in New Orleans. Well, I don't live in New Orleans, but I used to live in New Orleans. I'm from New Orleans. But a lot of people that lived in New Orleans and have family from New Orleans have family in outer places like Slidell, some even as far as Houston, but Mississippi, Alabama, it just goes like that. What was happening during the Great Migration, because remember, it wasn't a great migration, they were forcing Black people off their lands, people who had acres and acres of land, through the KKK, through taxes and all types of stuff, forcing these people off their lands, pushing them into major cities. Now, this is how you're going to start getting a lot of your Black major cities. Now, not to be mistaken, there were Black areas before this, but a lot of the Black major cities that we know today were forced. So the Great Migration was a forced migration to push people all in one corner, okay? Kind of what they doing today. Neither here nor there. So they put these Black people in these areas, but these Black people begin to thrive. Why? Because they are already thriving. They were thriving before the KKK got there. They were thriving before they were forced off the lands they were on. They're thriving on this land. So if they were successful before, guess what? They're probably successful where they're at. Businesses. Most major Black cities, if you do your research, they used to be major hubs for like major Black Wall Street cities. So like Miami had it, New Orleans had it, Tulsa had it, we know, Chicago had it. All the major Black cities that you know had these areas that were affluent of Black people. Now, this is the crazy thing about the enemy. It's almost like taking the land wasn't enough. You take the land, murder a whole bunch of people, force them off their lands, push some of them all the way up north, and the other ones you force into major cities. Then when they finally go where you want them to go, when they get to these major cities, it's still not enough. You still want to go and attack these people. This is why your riots are happening. Your Tulsa stuff is happening, because it was either way, the blacks were still outpacing the poor whites. Okay, so that's what was going on. Okay, so now fast forward, these people are forced into these major cities, and here is the Ocoee Massacre. Okay, it's 1920. Now you got to keep in mind, black people in the South are regaining the right to vote, or at least black people are going back to vote. Let's say that. Mind you, we are Republicans. This is 1920. This is not the civil rights movement with We Shall Overcome and Mike and them. We didn't become Democrats until then. Okay, so in 1920, we are Republican Party politics. Okay, now with that being said, remember I also told you in the South politically is really black. Now I'm not going to say in 1920 it was really black, but definitely all the way up to the mid to late 1800s, the South was politically black. Okay, so these black men and some black people who are allowed to vote are voting Republican and probably voting in their best interest because they are more politically educated than we are today. Argue with your mom, but they were voting for their best interest and voting for the people that was going to help them, and this will cause a lot of massacres and a lot of stuff that happened all across the South. So you wonder why the white folks was mad with black people having the right to vote. It was more than them being able to cast a ballot. They were actually having the political power to put in representation to actually work for them. See, you guys believe, and I understand this because I used to believe this as well. But we believe that the things that we suffer from is one-dimensional. That's the biggest mistake that you can ever make. The things that we're suffering from by this enemy is always multi-dimensional, meaning there's always 50 things coming out of this one thing they doing to us. So taking away our right to vote, yeah, it takes away, it psychologically enslaves you because it makes you feel like you're subservient to the people who stopping you from doing something against your free will. So you're psychologically enslaved. Then on top of that, it makes you feel less than and feel like they have power and you don't. Then on top of that, you going actually being able to cast your ballot makes you feel like you have zero power. All of this takes place when these people putting this type of stuff in position in this time frame. So taking away the right to vote not only killed black people physically, it killed them literally. A lot of black men who probably were black men and stood tall probably had to cower down because massacres was happening just because you just wanted to vote. But it was a very, very horrible thing to vote back then because we were politically educated. Today, we are emotionally educated. We ain't politically educated on nothing. Everything we do is emotion driven. That's why all of your campaign politics, all your political campaigns and all that stuff is all emotion driven. Most of us specifically do not have any political education, okay? Now, with that being said, one of the massacres that happened, the Ocoee Massacre. This is in Florida. Now, the Ocoee Massacre happened in 1920, and it was all about the same thing. Black people wanting the right to vote, okay? Now, they're going to use the term like African-American. Y'all already know how it goes with these terms. A lot of these terms are outdated, so please charge it to the game and the time frame of the article, okay? So let's get into this Ocoee Massacre of 1920. Now, this took place November 2nd, 1920, okay? And it says, in response to an attempt by African Americans to exercise their legal and democratic right to vote, at least 50 African Americans were murdered in a brutal massacre in Ocoee, Florida on November 2nd, 1920, in what is now called the Ocoee Massacre. It says, here's a description from the Ocoee fire. The 1920 Election Day Massacre, a quiet Florida citrus town, became the scene of a gruesome racial cleansing that purged the entire Black population for over 60 years. Now, let me just say this. When we talk about reparations, I talk about reparations in the form of land. I talk about reparations in the form of everything, okay? With that being said, when you talk about these massacres, a lot of people saying, oh, I live from down here, or I know people from there. Do your genealogy. Here are all these avenues. When we talk about these past historic things, we need to start crunching numbers in our head and start figuring out if we have any relatives or any type of relation to this stuff so we can go down here and get this check. Okay? Now, do not think that reparations is only tied to slavery. That is one thing, but it's not the only thing. It's not even the biggest thing, okay? You have to do your genealogy. When I talk about these stories, y'all have to do your genealogy. You never know what you run across, okay? Now, back to where I was going. On November 1st, the day before the election, with robes and crosses, the Klan, which is the government agent alleged, paraded through the streets of the two black communities in Ocoee late into the night. With megaphones, they warned that not a single Negro would be permitted to vote, and if any of them dared to do so, there would be dire consequences. Election day came, and at least some blacks did attempt to vote in Orange County. However, none were permitted to enter the respective polling places. White enforcers camped out around centers, and poll workers were given instructions to deflect their attempts. One by one, would-be black voters would be turned away either by threats of violence or by poll workers who found their names mysteriously absent from the voter registration polls. Pollsters instructed them to get documentation from Notary Public R.C. Bigelow to verify that they were indeed registered to vote. Conveniently, however, Bigelow was unable to be located because he was out on a fishing trip that day. With little other option, most returned to their homes without casting their ballots. Mose Norman, who would not be so easily deterred, after being turned away that morning in his Ocoee precinct, he rode to Orlando to seek the counsel of Judge Cheney. The attorney instructed him to write down the names of any African Americans who were not permitted to vote, and also the names of the poll workers who had denied their constitutional rights. Cheney said a lawsuit against the county would be brought to contest this violation. Norman returned to Ocoee with these instructions, along with a handful of black citizens, again seeking to vote. As you can imagine, things did not go well. After again being forcibly turned away, he demanded the poll workers' names and exclaimed, "We will vote by God." The response by the Klan was a massacre. One of the people killed was Julius July Perry, pictured above. We'll look at it in a second. And here is a description of Perry from the Ocoee on Fire. It says July Perry had been the well-respected godfather of the black community. He served as a deacon in the church and the local labor leader or straw boss. It was said that anyone seeking to employ black laborers needed to speak with him first. Now, let me stop here. This is a strategic kill. They don't just kill any old body. It's the same reason why they gave us Martin Luther King and then shot him in front of us. They give us the hit. They want to take down anybody who looks like they can help or do anything to better the system for black Americans. They want to take them down, right? To make anybody else afraid to rise up. Okay? So let's really be clear about that. And that's why they took this man down. It wasn't by coincidence. It says he was an admired, brave, and rational thinker, a sort of civil rights leader before there was a civil rights movement. He encouraged young blacks to be educated and stand up for themselves as first-class citizens. It goes on to say Perry's wife, Estelle, his 3 sons and daughters, Coretha Perry Caldwell, lived on a large estate that included their home and several barns and outbuildings. Didn't I tell you these people own land? They regularly opened their doors to anyone in need. If anyone was in trouble, they knew they could find advice and sanctuary in the Perry home. Let me tell you something. This is strategic, okay? This is not by chance. This is not by happenstance. This is strategic. The object to this whole game, remember, these are clear people. These is a small handful of white people who want to rule the world. They got another handful of white people that they can use to control the masses. So by any means necessary, we need this small group of white people or this group of white people to control these blacks, okay? In the midst of that, We need to take down each and every one of their leaders. Anybody who seemed to be positive, pass on positive things to the next generation, all of that. We gotta get them out of here. And that's why they targeted and got rid of this man. It's not simply because he had the heart to go down there and stand up. He was a great target. Be strategic. Think in the mind of the oppressor, okay? Thank you, Whitney. So that's what happened there. Now, I found this video to kind of go a little bit more into detail about the Ocoee Massacre. But before we get into that, first of all, I want to ask you guys to like the video. And then secondly, let me say this, y'all. You got to start looking at this stuff for more than what it really is. It's multi-layered. Sorry. This thing is multi-layered. This enemy that we're dealing with here is multi-layered. And this is the strategy that has been able to been used or has been used against us, right? And it's been very, very, successful because we don't understand the play. What I'm trying to show you is it's not one-sided. Most of the people that I've seen here in the recent years, a lot of the people that I've seen here in the recent years, they always look at things so one-sided. Always just one enemy, always just one solution, it's never just one thing. It's always a multi-layered thing. And you're not going to be able to defeat this enemy if you are one-track minded or you're surface level. I'm telling you, these people think hundreds of years in advance. Okay, the quote unquote founding fathers, they were thinking 1,000 years ahead of time when they were creating all of this constitutions and all this stuff. Okay, so please be advised of that when you're dealing with this stuff. I want to show y'all this video. Is this the one? Yeah, this is the one. Then this is going to kind of go further into detail about the massacre. Is everybody good? Somebody say, where are the mods? Is everybody good? If it's a troll in the chat, I'll catch him. But y'all like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let's get right into it, y'all.
There are injustices in U.S. history never told in history books.
Sometimes the bad actors and their loved ones would rather dismiss it as troubles of the past.
The afflicted and their descendants hold on to the pain in silence.
100 years ago, July Perry, he had the audacity to organize his community to vote.
And let me say this too. I'm so tired of you niggas asking for apologies, and I'm so tired of you niggas accepting apologies. I'm so tired of you niggas accepting memorials, plaques, days, street names. I'm so tired of that ugly ass shit. You niggas gotta catch up. You niggas gotta catch up, okay? All of that, we gonna remember it and do it. You feel what I'm saying? And come back every year and talk about it. If it ain't no tangible attached to the I'm sorry, we don't want to hear it, okay? That needs to be the mindset moving forward. I don't want to hear I don't need to see no buildings. I don't need to see no statues. I don't even need you to say I'm sorry. As a matter of fact, I don't need you to say nothing. Run them tangibles and run me what I'm owed. That's all. That's the only mindset we need to have moving forward.
In a presidential election,
July Perry and Mr. Norman knows they were going to vote. And they knew that the whites did not want the blacks to vote.
The KKK warned there would be trouble.
An untold number of blacks were killed on November 2nd, 1920, and the days that followed.
Every home was burned. And when the home was set on fire, if people tried to flee, they were gunned down.
Them homes that was burned, we need that. Listen, y'all talking about reparations. We need to go get it, but we can't. It's so many ways we can go get it. All them homes that was burnt, them lives that was lost, we need that. And the city and the state can pay for it. Because guess what? The KKK were government agents. And if we want to go federal, they can pay for it too.
In the 1850s, you really see the first settlement. One of the first settlers to come is J.D. Stark. He comes from elsewhere and settles here in the 1850s. He does bring with him 23 enslaved individuals, and it's prime agricultural land. People are, looking to sort of make their break. And so he actually comes to this area in the land between Lake Stark and Lake Apopka and begins growing citrus.
Ocoee of the early 1900s was bursting economically because of its fertile ground in and around Lake Apopka, meaning that many people were moving here from the Carolinas, Georgia.
How did blacks start earning a living in an area that was controlled by white families that settled here first?
They were working for white employers when it came to agriculture specifically. They just saved. And when they had the opportunity, they started buying property.
And you're looking at black families who were working in the Carolinas, picking cotton. As I was told once by my grandmother, you can make more money picking citrus than you could picking cotton, wherein with cotton, you would probably make 40 cents on 100 pounds. So that's a lot of cotton for 40 cents, so that you could pick oranges by the box, sometime 75 cents a box, 50 cents a box.
Moses Norman and Valentine Hightower, they came from South Carolina looking basically for better work.
Alan Frank's family, the McNeelys, you had the Browns,
and then also Jack and Annie Hameter family. Those are the earliest families that we can tell.
And who was July Perry?
July Perry was a very powerful black man.
July Perry lived here and was a businessman, a prosperous individual who would contract laborers to come into West Orange County to harvest the citrus grove.
Mose Norman was a friend. And
I have a question really quickly, and I'm gonna let it play. But now, before they said that the black people in that county only got money because they worked for the white people picking citrus. But then July Perry is a black man who hires laborers. So July Perry got money like the white folks. Is that what they saying? And let me say, and the reason why I'm stopping this to bring this to your attention is because this is how they play on the subconscious. They always put the white person in the higher position, and they always put the black person in the lower position. So they would rather just put a blanket over the white people were doing well and the niggas was working for them. This is how it plays on your subconscious. This is why you look at history, you read stuff, and you automatically associate black with less, black with slave, black with nothing, because subconsciously, this is how they feed you the history. But they contradict themselves when you pay attention, because then they turn back around and say, well, July Perry, the black man, was also a laborer hiring people in the town. So that would mean that white people were not the rich people or not the well-to-do people. It looks like people like today, hello, just like in 2025, just like you got a rich white neighborhood and you got a rich mixed neighborhood, just like you got a middle-class white neighborhood and you got middle-class mixed neighborhood, and you the same thing in the poor whites and the poor. It's the same thing they're doing now they did then. That's the mind trick. That's the mind trick, to make you think that you were always subservient. That's a lie. Gone are the days. Gone are the days. They telling you without telling you the truth, okay?
Neighbor of July Perry's, who was also a labor broker. Mose Norman was a little bit more ostentatious about his wealth. He drove a very nice car. He made no apologies about being successful.
I know therapy can be really scary. I was really nervous.
And listen, a black man with money like that made them poor clears. Could you imagine the poor clears who get to play dress up at night and put the KKK hood on? Could you imagine them sit salivating to get to this nigga? You see what I'm saying?
American community, almost half of the city of Ocoee, based on the census.
What's happening in Florida months leading up to that election day back in 1920?
Leading up to that time, Black people were becoming equally or more successful than the whites.
But I would say there's three factors that are
everyone becoming equally more successfully. They were. But they always got to frame it like that. Oh, Black people were becoming equally or a little bit more. No, we were. That's why they was mad.
Really starting to add to this pot. It's like a big boiling cauldron. And what those are start with World War I. Of course, World War I, a lot of young Black men go to World War I. And part of the belief was that if we go and we fight for this country, we're proving we're invested. We are here, we're fighting like everybody else. If we come home, maybe there will be better equality.
You had the Republicans courting the Black vote.
Black women during this time, they're the organizers. I mean, they are really starting to say, like, we deserve this. And when our men come home, it's about equality. So you've got all of these different things sort of happening in Florida. And what happens is you start to see a rise in white supremacy and Ku Klux Klan activity specifically throughout the state, trying to essentially quash.
Remember, the KKK are the poor whites. These are not your well-to-do whites. Yes, the leaders are at the top. Yes, when you take off the hood to the leader of the KKK, he was a senator or something like that. But they was onesie-twosies. The muscle of the KKK were the poor, downtrodden, missing tooth, cousins sleeping with whites. That's what it was.
The votership throughout the state.
Who are the characters in or around Ocoee who are trying to rally and encourage Blacks to vote in November?
The people who are most often cited are Judge John Chaney and W.R. O'Neill. They are Republican, and they are actively seeking, trying to help Black voters get registered. They receive a letter from the KKK stating, you had better stop offering lectures to the Black community about exercising their legal right to vote, or else.
July Perry and Mose traveled back and forth to Orlando and coming up with, strategies to get people to vote.
He had Black and white folks working for him 100 years ago. He had the audacity to organize his community to vote in a presidential election.
So you mean July Perry had Black and white folks working for him? July Perry, the Black man, had Black and white folks working for him. So when he got to organizing the vote, he had the people's ear because, okay, got it. So July Perry was that nigga. Got it. We not about to sit up here and act like he was a one-off neither. But I'm telling you how they play. You got to be able to read through the bull. You got to be able to read through the bull.
It could change the dynamics of politics. And many Blacks would be loyal to the Republican Party because of Abraham Lincoln freeing the slaves.
Take us back to that day, November 2nd, 1920, and just tell us how that day started.
Oh, excitement, especially for those who had paid their poll taxes. It's the big day. We're going to finally be able to vote.
Where there would be a screen in downtown Orlando. That screen was used to update people about the election results. In the case of the massacre, it was also used as a call to arms to bring white able-bodied men in order to assist with what they called the riot.
We know that just days before there had been a large Ku Klux Klan march through Orlando. 200 to 500 people is the estimate. And the sentiment, of course, was, you had better not try to vote if you are Black and living in this area.
So initially when Mose Norman goes to vote, there's some dispute about whether he initially brought a gun or brought one later. But He is refused. At that point, he goes to see Judge Cheney, who had assisted him and others in registering to vote.
Judge Cheney was like a savior. You know, he was a man of great standards and stature. I don't think he's been acknowledged enough for his role, his sacrifices. And he says to Moses Norman, you go back over to there, and you're all going to vote. You're going to vote today. You're going to vote. You know, you paid your poll tax. What are they talking about? Go back. You know, he gets into a fight or scuffle, and I think he's struck upside the head. So he's heading out of Dodge now. He goes by and says to July, hey, man, I'm out of here. I'm gone.
And then later on, a posse, and then later a larger mob went there. The posse included Clyde Pounds, Sam Salisbury, and at some point, Frank Gordon. Clyde Pounds is someone who a lot of sources say deputized the posse. Former Mayor Lester Dabb's thesis said it was not Clyde Pounds, but instead Frank Gordon who led the posse. It transformed what would have otherwise been a rogue group of angry people into really a government actor.
Locally and in Ocoee and Orange County, a lot of the local politicians and the law enforcement were members of the KKK.
And what happens at Perry's house?
All hell break loose. Lieutenant Sam Salisbury goes there and with the posse, and they tell him they're looking for Mose Norman. And
well, he told his daughter, who was 19, Karifa at the time.
You know what bothers me about these little lame ass, fragile ass clears? They always had to do shit in groups. It's even today when you see them do policing. I think that's what bothers me the most, because they know standing next to us, they don't measure up. You know what I'm saying? So they always got to do things in the middle of the night in groups, like some old hoe ass shit. You know what I'm saying? And I hate that. I really wish back then we had secret militias or something, some sort of secret like military or something that we could activate whenever them crackers was getting together and doing some stuff like that. Because see, if I was living back then, we'd have definitely they'd had to take me out planning that type of shit. You feel what I'm saying? Because all that old lame ass shit of coming in the middle of the night, nigga, it'll be a tit for tat middle of the night type tease. And I'm pretty positive, knowing our ancestors for a while, it definitely was that. Remember, they telling us the history. They'll never tell us if that happened. You got to know that. But yeah, they just so cowardly, man. It's just ridiculous.
He said, look, honey, look at me, honey. It's not time to panic. Listen to me, honey. I am not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. Get your mother and your little brothers, and you get out of here. You go as fast as you can, as far as you can. Because I am not going to make it.
What?
A few men of the city of Ocoee came to my great-grandfather's and my grandmother's home and began a conversation from outside. In that conversation, he pretty much was telling them, I don't know what you're talking about, and no one's in here but me and my family, and I'm not coming out there.
That was a terrible day, my dad said. Well, the news had gotten around that July Perry and Mr. Norman Mose, they were going to vote. And they knew that the whites did not want the blacks to vote. My granddad, and I imagine maybe some of the others, had...
Can I say this too? You got to keep in mind, they're gaining control. They're almost there around this time. 1920, they're almost there of having full control of the entire government. Us having the right to vote was very, very critical. If we go in and vote the wrong people in, it completely knocks down their house of cards. Let's not forget that, okay? So them not wanting us to vote is heavier than you could even imagine. You see how right now, for me, I don't vote. I feel like the enemy on the right side and the left side. This is around the time when they were solidifying that. They hadn't gotten there yet. They were right there. They were almost there. They had to hold this political power the way it was. By the time they gave us the full right to vote back, we was already on a Democratic plantation, remember? That's strategic, okay? So be mindful of that. They were taking over politically because in the time, we were putting in people that actually worked for us, not people we liked because they was black. You see what I'm saying? So that's a big difference.
Made a plan, and they knew that if he could get his children and them to Plymouth, they would be safe and welcome.
I remember her telling me that the people came in and they were surrounding the house and how they had to lay low as they started shooting. So she just wanted me to know your grandmother was in this situation and that she was shot.
Caritha is injured. She later shows, I believe it's in an Orlando Sentinel article, the bullet where the bullet wound had been in her arm.
She said there was so much gunfire, you could see the tracers of the bullets flying through the house, just one side to another. They were all heading toward, I guess, the back of the house or toward a door. And she said this door had a cat hole in it. And she said it was large enough for people to, you know, of their size to be able to crawl in and crawl out. While on the inside, she was absolutely distraught and she was terrified, you know. And yet, at the same time, she said courage was kicking in at the same time. Necessity, survival.
I get emotional about it because they had to run. And my dad, one of the brothers was a paralytic. So they had to, my dad had to carry him on his back. They had to go into the swampy area out around Lake Apopka.
So I'm assuming it must have been dusk or evening or toward, you know, night. And she said a beam of light from the moon shined on this field. She knew that it was a sign from God. And they all got on their stomachs and they began to crawl. She said we could see the feet, the boots, the shoes of people from the township that were shooting into the house and shooting their father. She had never seen her father again. And did not know really at that time what had happened.
He manages to escape in the crossfire and hide in a sugarcane patch outside of his home with his arm blown away. And at some point, his leg became broken as well. He's either transported to the jail or he is taken directly to be dragged behind a truck to Orlando. Whenever he is taken to Orlando, he's
sound like the military was out there shooting at them. It don't just sound like no random wife. It could have been, but it sounded like they had some real firepower.
Taken outside the home of Judge Cheney, which later became a country club. He is hanged outside of there and his body is riddled with bullets.
He was lynched, not because he was doing anything wrong, because he was doing everything right. Not only for himself, as a father, as an activist, as an uncle, as a law-abiding citizen. None of that mattered.
You'll see on the death certificate that he died by being hung, but then you see in markedly different handwriting that it was not caused by the racial disturbance. So you have this certified public record that is demonstrably false. And it makes you question the credibility of other public records at the time. And there's kind of an effort to minimize who July Perry was if you look at his death certificate.
What happened to your relatives, the rest of them, after that incident, all those that were living in Ocoee?
None of them tried to stay. None of them. They were leaving that. They didn't want to even, kind of like Caritha said, she didn't even want to hear the name Ocoee.
Your workflow is important to us.
Please wait indefinitely.
With Monday.
I don't understand how these people on here doing this interview without crashing out. Because I ain't gonna hold you. Unless y'all have already reparated me and my family and have given us back our land and paid us stipends for the rest of our lives, bitch, ain't no interview talking about y'all riddling bullets on my grandpa. The hell? I don't know. Some black people different. I'm more militant. I don't know y'all.
And those who did not run out of Ocoee and remained in their homes were cremated in the homes because the homes were set afire. But before that, this had been a thriving community with African Americans who lived there. And when they ran, they left behind their dead. And the dead bodies were in the cemetery.
So I've taken all of the individuals listed in the 1920 census and I'm doing their genealogy forward. What that means is I'm trying to find them. We have found people who've gone to Conway, to Apopka, to a lot of individuals went to Hillsborough County and Tampa area, Fort Lauderdale.
And some members of the mob were killed. That is another question that has yet to be decided. How many people actually died in the Ocoee Massacre? And depending on who you talk with, the number ranges from 3 to 60.
So the initial investigation would have been Walter White's investigation. He was a white passing NAACP secretary. So he went in and was
Lord, the NAACP. Girl, let me say this. They don't want to give us the numbers, but I'm pretty sure the people who lost family has came down and said that I lost family. It's just the government don't want to be honest. They got to give you enough to say they told you, but not enough to give you enough to do anything about it. Okay, let's really be clear about this. This is a bunch of bull. It's making me mad.
Was able to blend in with the community and really get the white community to tell him what probably really happened. They were really proud of what happened. They were telling him about how they were taking home body parts as souvenirs. The NAACP then wrote to the Department of Justice pleading with them to investigate. They found that no one's constitutional rights were violated and no one was deprived of the right to vote.
You're talking about the bloodiest day in American political history, and you've had people in Central Florida that really didn't know about it.
Whatever happened to the property that your grandfather had in Ocoee? Do you know?
Coming from Plymouth, we had to come that way. My dad would show us, he'd say, see, all of that? We used to own that. And every time my dad would be talking about that, sometime we see a little tear, come from.
That's what this is all about. Taking the land. You heard what this lady said? Her daddy told her they would ride around and say, you see all of that? We used to own all of that. I'm telling you, she's not the only person. He's not the only person. A lot of our family got a lot of our land taken from us because that's what it was all about. Taking away your political power, taking away your land, taking away your economics. That's what this is all about. Now that they have it, and have full control over everything that we have economically, our homes, everything. Now they can do whatever they want to do. That's what this is all about. Listen to how much land this lady said her granddaddy told them they had, or her daddy used to say that they owned. That's crazy.
My dad would show us, he'd say, see, all of that? We used to own that. And every time my dad would be
Look at that. Look at how much land that was taken from one person. I told y'all I did some history and found out one man owned Fort Valley, Georgia, all the way damn near to Macon. One man. This is how we owned land back then. When they put us in them ghettos and put us in them projects, we would literally they took everything that we ever had. This is a lot of land to just be hollering about, oh, they just ran us off the land. This ain't a few acres. Like, think about this. This is the part of history they don't show you in school. They don't teach it to you in college. They don't teach it to you in high school, none of that. I know I've taken every single history. They never teach you about the black people who owned all the land. They never talk about that.
Talking about that, sometimes we see a little tear, come from his eyes, all that they lost.
It was actually stolen. It's still stolen land to this day. It's still land that belongs to not only July Perry, but other descendants of Ocoee. And that land has blood on it.
July Perry's property ends up in the hands of Bluford Sims. It's conveyed with the condition that it can never again be conveyed to a black person. For example, the Hammeter's land. It has a clause that's saying that it wasn't signed under threat of force.
Were they ever compensated in any way for that property that they had to abandon?
No. That's a lot.
What I told y'all. See, y'all think I be playing when I be talking about reparations in the form of land. Y'all really think I just be on here talking out the side of my neck. Did y'all just hear what just happened? Not only did they take all that land from them people, ain't give them nothing back. You feel what I'm saying? Then they took it and said it couldn't be sold to other black people. And then they tied it up, man. Come on, man. And they sitting in the interview talking about my daddy and this and that. Man, watch out. They'll have to edit my interview because by the time I get finished, they couldn't just let mine play. You see what I'm saying? This is crazy. When I speak about reparations in the form of land, I know what I'm talking about. They took our land and we giving it away now, but they took a lot of our land.
No, some of the others I think got a penny or two. And I do mean when you compare to the value of the land.
Want $1,000 weight loss medication for $50? It all starts with Rose Free Insurance Check.
My name is Marcy Bodyford, and my mom moved to Ocoee in 1977 when I was in the first grade.
We would just be driving down the street and they would be calling us all kind of and I told them don't say nothing, just ignore them.
I was pulled over in 1981 here in Ocoee, and just everything just is like collapsed inside of me. Everything came back to all the fears we were told, and we weren't told why. We just figured because nobody lived here at that time, but white people, that we shouldn't be in Ocoee after sundown.
Bottles were.
So now a town that was all black is now a white sundown town. And y'all wonder why. Let me tell you something. People might call me racist. And this is why I don't give two fucks. Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? If you want to call me racist, I'm racist. I don't care. So this black town that was owned by black people and thriving was stolen, and now white people own it, and it's a sundown town where the very black people who owned it don't even feel safe going in there. I don't give a damn if they say I'm racist. I be that. I be that 1,000,000 times over. I don't care. Can't nobody make me feel bad about feeling how I feel.
Thrown in our windows while we slept.
Beer bottles while we
Beer
slept
bottles.
at night.
And by the grace of God, we never woke up, because if we would have, we would have been scared to death.
What did you know about the home or the home that you were going to buy or build in Ocoee at the time?
Everybody was trying to talk me out of, you know what happened? I never even heard what happened.
I didn't start hearing about it till a little later in life. I mean, I did hear that there was hangings, but I didn't know the reason for the hangings.
Were you one of the only black students at school besides your siblings?
There was probably three more families that moved like over the course of me being from first grade to sixth grade. I also had one of my teachers tell me that, we were the first black students that he ever had. And, he said he learned a lot from us.
But they didn't send their kids to school. They took them to a pop school because we already knew it was dangerous.
The street that I grew up on, it was amazing. During that time, we had 3 different cultures of Spanish. We had two families from Guyana. So it was just mainly the people that, lived in Ocoee and grew up in Ocoee, that was from Ocoee, that, had a lot of racist, attitudes or whatever. So once they got to know us and know that, okay, we're not bad people, our life began to change for the better. So I felt like we paved the way to make a change in Ocoee so that Black people would be more accepted.
1994.
Some bullshit. A town you own, now you gotta hope that you more accepted in it. That's crazy work. Very, very crazy work. Do you hear me? A town you own, now you gotta hope they accept you in it and don't kill you after 8 o'clock. Ridiculous.
And I just assumed growing up it was just a town for white people.
A lot of the specifics of the events of the Ocoee Massacre, we don't know. It was a horrible, horrible event. African Americans were slaughtered, were driven out of Ocoee for decades. Ocoee was a rural community that would have been pretty familiar to people living in Central Florida at the time, in the late 19th and early 20th century. And it was, a community lined with orange groves and agricultural productions, and it was near Orlando, which was a transportation hub. The railroad came through Orlando. Farmers in Ocoee could go to Orlando and send their goods to market. And so it had a very desirable place, just geography, because it was so close to a railroad hub.
Citrus was the king. And July Perry, being that he was a labor broker for both Black and white, he ruled. Some people said that he was not, they said that he was meaner than a junkyard dog. So he probably had to be tough, being that things were the way they were, and to accomplish what he was accomplishing there on the shores of Lake Apopka. Everything was hustling and bustling here, and it was all about success, Black or white, success.
They're living in an era of Jim Crow, of segregation, of enforced segregation. They're living in an era when these men in Ocoee, and by 1920, the women too, were full citizens of the United States, had the right to vote. But since the last decade of the 19th century, there have been active efforts to suppress the vote by violence and intimidation. It's suppressed by law.
So there was a great deal of anxiety on the part of white supremacists in Florida to curb the number of African Americans who were going to vote in the 1920 election. So much so that in Orlando, in Lake City, and Jacksonville, days before the November election in 1920, the Ku Klux Klan marched through the downtown in those places, specifically to intimidate African Americans from going out and casting a vote in that 1920.
And we got to be mindful of that too, because the enemy is very clever. It's the same thing with Trump marching the National Guard through DC and all them places. It's called posturing. It's called punt faking. It's almost like, I don't want to do nothing, so let me scare them so they won't make me have to do nothing. Tight tease. That's what the government does. Now, don't get me wrong. They will follow through. But what I'm saying is they good for posturing like that.
Election.
Judge John Chaney, who was going to run for the Senate seat, courted the Black vote. He helped July Perry and Mose Norman become registered voters. They paid their poll tax because back then you had to pay your poll tax.
July Perry and Mose Norman, who were better economically situated in Ocoee, push people to register to vote. And if they don't have the money for the poll tax, they will give them the money for the poll tax to register and vote.
Mose Norman, went to the polls in Ocoee to vote. A scuffle starts and he leaves. And I guess he go by and tell July Perry, I'm out of here, because by now he's been attacked. And so the Ku Klux Klan it was said, went to the home of July Perry. From there, all hell broke loose. He tells his family to flee. Who kills who? Nobody knows. 2 whites end up dead in July Perry's backyard.
News of this gets out and a white mob comes to July Perry's house armed. And of course, this leads to the Ocoee Massacre.
You have 30 to 60 people that
At least they didn't say it was a white woman that got whistled at this time.
we think died there. It's painful. It's horribly painful to think about being in a situation where people are shooting at you and have set your house on fire, and you're trying to escape in the dark of the night.
Alan Frank's uncle was July Perry. Alan Franks was a refugee or survivor of the Ocoee Massacre. He knew the perimeters of the Lake Apopka. And Alan, who had to carry his sibling who had a physical illness through the swamps, I just can't even imagine the pain, the fear of trying to get to a safe place. And July Perry, taken from Ocoee. Some say he was near death before he left Ocoee, that he had been wounded, and allegedly tied behind a vehicle and drug into Orlando. He was locked in the jail, wounded near death. The vigilante group came to the jail and took him away, and they hung him in the vicinity of where Judge Cheney would see his body. And as a reminder to Judge Cheney, this is what happens when you register people to vote.
It was reported very broadly, in fact. The Florida newspapers were reporting it the next day, and then national newspapers took it up. In that wide reporting, it is reported from a white perspective, and a white perspective that sees the horror in the 2 white men who died. There are reports, that the town was burned, but the implication often is that that's the fault of blacks, that the town burns down.
They do that today. Y'all don't notice they do that today? Even when they talk about riots, even when they talk about protests, they always all they gotta see is 1 or 2 blacks, and they say it was the niggas. That's what they do. There's nothing new under the sun. This is how they roll. These people are evil, bro. Evil.
The African American accounts of Ocoee lived with the people who experienced them initially. The ones who fled, they went to places like Apopka, went to places north or other parts of the South, and they shared those stories with their descendants who passed those stories on. And this is not unusual with racial terror in these ways. What African Americans did in 1920 and soon after was just seed the story that could be germinated later, which future historians were able to do.
Ocoee suffered greatly after 1920. Who's going to work over there? Not black people from those who knew. So for a long time, the economy suffered, all because of people wanting to vote.
When you guys think of the Great Migration, think of it as a big ass land grab. That's what the Great Migration was. The government stealing land. That's all it was. Killing niggas and taking their land. That's the history of the Great Migration. Because all of the Great Migration, all the people who went through the Great Migration lost a hell of a lot of land. All of them lost land. So farms, businesses. The Great Migration wasn't no damn migration. It was a big ass government land grab. That's what it was.
Grew up in Apopka during the 50s. We would not go through what was called the downtown Ocoee, but no one ever said that people actually died there. It's just that it was a place that black people did not go. I became a member of Democracy Forum in 1997. I was invited to join a group by a friend of mine. Little did I know it was about what had happened in Ocoee. Once I learned what they were doing, I was all in then. I'm going, oh, wow, this is interesting. The constituency of Democracy Forum was quite diverse. You had a melting pot of people who were all on the same cause to inform people and come up with a way to reconcile. And we all had an assignment, pretty much, to bring back information. We spent hours and weeks and months researching. Key pieces of the evidence of our research was the death certificate of July Perry, the census list of 1910, 1920, showing close to 300 Black people living in Ocoee. Then there was a letter from a woman by the name of Annie Hamilton. This letter had been smuggled out of the community, and it was describing what type of citrus she was shipping to this friend in Ohio. She drops down in the second paragraph, and she says, one of the most wickedest things has happened. Blacks are being forced to leave, Ocoee. It has been a journey. It's been an experience, one that has created an ongoing dialogue among many people now. And once we located descendants and they could trust us and they didn't seem to have that fear anymore, they would start sharing the stories of their descendants about what happened, the land they owned and where it was located. And, it was like a freedom. We donated our research materials, which consist of thousands of documents. We donated that to the Orange County Regional History Center. And they're going to do an exposition in honor of the 100 years.
Oh my God. With all due respect to this woman, she seems like a highly intelligent, beautiful, elderly woman. With all due respect. With all due respect. Niggas cannot continue to be this stupid. We just can't. Thousands of documents of research you hand it over to the museum. Again, with all due respect to the elder, the lady looked like a beautiful woman. We just gotta be smarter. We got to be smarter than this. We just have to be smarter than this. We gotta start thinking like the enemy. The enemy would have never given us a copy of their documented history. Why would we do that? Make it make sense. We got to be smarter than this. Beautiful lady, though. This is no shade. It's just that part I had to highlight. I couldn't believe it.
And they're going to do an exposition in honor of the 100 years. And that is just I'm so happy.
I don't give a damn about no exposition. Run me back the land. I don't need no exposition. I don't need no exhibition. I don't need no expeditions. I don't need no trades. I don't need no holidays. Run me back the land. They're going to do an exhibition. An exhibition don't feed my family. An exhibition don't make sure my grandkids got somewhere to stay. I don't care about none of that. See, shout out to the elders. This is why our generation is coming in. Because, see, we a little bit more militant. You see what I'm saying? See, that generation was good with the, they going to honor us. Our generation not like that.
A marker was placed in downtown Orlando near the Orange County Regional History Center, which honors those who died as a result of lynchings. Now there's a petition to name a highway in the honor of July Perry, which is so honorable to know that it's being embraced now and that someone is telling the story. And
we cannot go on like this. I don't give about no marker. I don't give about no holiday. I don't give about no bridge, no interstate, none of that. In the same interview, they asked you, did you get your land back? And y'all said no. Now you over here hollering about they gonna name an interstate after your granddaddy? Girl, nigga don't care about that ugly ass shit, girl. Y'all need to be getting your land back. What is going on? Black Americans, we cannot go forward with that. We cannot. We got to be more militant than this. We got to pick up more Malcolm X. We got to pick up more Fred Hampton. We got to start picking up more Fannie Lou Hamer. We got to start picking. We got to put down Martin Luther King. Mike messed us up. We got to pick up more of the militant people from the past. This is ridiculous.
You know, the memorial that is Ocoee itself, been a long time coming.
You know, there were years you couldn't say the Ocoee Massacre in Central Florida at all. And now we have markers. We have a tombstone for July Perry. We have a curriculum going into our classrooms that will teach this throughout Florida. For African Americans, this is a really important milestone to sort of get that out there, because their history and the history of Florida was whitewashed for so many decades.
Adding to the Florida curriculum discussions on Ocoee and explorations of the history of Ocoee, I think is a very important step for Florida. It means essentially that the next generations will know what Ocoee was, will remember Ocoee, will at some level deal with Ocoee.
I have met so many people in these last 22 years that, you know, Francina, what? How did you get into the middle of this? It was a calling. It was a calling, and you don't question your calling.
Let this documentary be a lesson to us all. We don't care about no markers. We really don't need no mile markers. We can continue with oral history. How about that? We don't need no mile markers. We don't need none of that. These people lost hundreds of acres of land. And if I heard in the first documentary correctly, they put a golf club or something on one of them. They did the same thing in New York with Central Park and Seneca Village. We got to be the generation that say, no, I'm sorry isn't enough. A day isn't enough. A mile marker or interstate, none of that is enough. F you, pay me. If we don't get back to that, we're screwed. Now, one thing I am confident about is this generation is a bit more militant. So I do think that we could take this ball and run with it, okay? But all of that, we got to throw that attitude away. Our ancestors accepted all the apologies, no more. Our ancestors has accepted enough apologies to last us for the next 100 years. No more apologies. We're done with the apologies, okay? That's a wrap. Appreciate it. Keep it to yourself. Don't even tell me. We good. Okay? Armand, thank you for the super chat. Says, hey, boo, I'm glad I finally catch a live. This new school year has been crazy, but I'm pushing through. Happy Educational Friday. OMG, good luck in school, Armand, and I'm so happy you made it, boo. Thank you so much. I appreciate all the support, and good luck in school and do well. Okay? Deserving one, thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate you. Talonda, thank you for becoming a new member. Talonda, it seems like you be a new member every live. Girl, what's going on? I mean, I'm not complaining, but I feel like every time I turn around, I go live, you a new member. Girl, how many memberships you got? I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not complaining. I'm just asking a question. Shout out to Talonda, though. That's my girl. Thank you, beautiful. Carolyn Johnson, thank you for the super chat. Says, hey, boo, this hits to me. My birthday is November 2nd. Oh, man, I'm so sorry to hear that, beautiful. I have to renew. Gotcha. All right, Talonda, that's my girl. My girl be supporting now. Shout out. Thank you, Carolyn. She says her birthday is November 2nd. I'm so sorry to hear that. But yeah, man, we got to start learning this history and doing something about it. We have to start doing it's different from just learning. We already know we're gonna learn the history. Now we got to do something about it. You get it? Now, with that being said, y'all, this is a shorter live. I do appreciate each and every one of you guys for coming. Make sure y'all like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're new, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll know when we go live. And make sure y'all pull up Monday through Friday for the morning jokes, because we do that every day, Monday through Friday. I love y'all so much. I will catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
Can you hear me now? Oh, let's go! It's your boy Big Chew, the voice of the beat. You know what I won't blaze up. Come on, blaze up.
It's the beat for me.
Wow, 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 for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Drop it for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Do it for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Come on, baby, we live. For your boy, for your boy, for your boy, for your boy. Also for your boy, mix it for your boy. Drop it for your, wow, 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 lift it up.
Mr. Carroll, how you give the voodoo doll time to talk? I don't get no fucking time to talk.
Who the voodoo doll is?
The nigga you just had up here.